You know that cup of coffee you're maybe holding right now? Well, it has been on a wild ride. Today, we're going to trace the coffee bean's entire journey, from a beautiful, fragrant flower all the way to that small, hard seed that's ready for the roaster. So, let's dive in.
Okay, so we've all seen pictures like this one, right? Coffee beans drying out in the sun. This shot is actually from Ethiopia, which is the birthplace of coffee. But when you look at them all laid out like this, have you ever really stopped to wonder what they were before this moment? Because, and this is the crazy part, they didn't start out looking anything like this. Yeah, they don't begin as these hard little beans, not even close. So that's the big question we're tackling today. How in the world does a juicy, red fruit growing on a tree transform into the key ingredient for your morning coffee? That's the journey we're about to take, and trust me, we're going to follow it every step of the way.
All right, so let's start at the very, very beginning, with the coffee plant itself. And as you're about to see, it's so much more than just a thing that grows beans.
The coffee tree is actually gorgeous. People describe it as a handsome tree, with these shiny dark green leaves and these stunning white flowers that smell absolutely incredible. But here's the thing, it's also super picky. It needs a tropical, frost-free climate, it needs well-drained soil. It can take a good pruning, but it absolutely hates strong winds. In fact, a single frost can kill the whole thing overnight. I mean, we're talking about a surprisingly sensitive plant that needs everything to be just so.
But of course, these trees aren't just for looking at. We're after what's hidden inside. And this is the most important thing to get. What we call a coffee bean isn't really a bean at all. It's a seed, and it's buried deep, deep inside a fruit.
So let's play botanist for a second. We're going to take this fruit, which everyone calls a coffee cherry, and we're going to visually dissect it. We're going to peel back the layers one by one to find that treasure hidden inside.
And wow, just look at this cross-section. You can see right away how complex this little fruit actually is. It's not just a skin and a seed. Look at all those different layers. Every single one has a name and a job to do, and every single one has to come off to get to the good stuff. Let's break it down.
So starting on the very outside, you've got the skin, just like on any other fruit. Right underneath that is the pulp, which is apparently pretty juicy and inviting. A perfectly ripe cherry is usually this bright, vibrant red, but you can find varieties that are yellow or even orange.
Okay, if we dig a little deeper, we hit these protective layers. There's this tough, kind of papery layer called the parchment. It's like a little shell. And then wrapped right around the bean itself is this super thin membrane called the silver skin. Think of these two as the bean's own personal security detail. And finally, after getting through all of that, we finally get to the treasure, the thing this whole process is about, the bean. Or to be technically correct, the seed. And usually there are two of them, just nestled together face to face, inside every single cherry. This is the prize.
Okay, so now we know what we're looking for. The next question is, how do we get it out? And that brings us to this absolutely massive undertaking, the great harvest. This is all about getting those millions of little fruits off the tree.
And this really happens in one of two ways. First up, you've got the classic method, picking by hand. You have skilled workers going through the trees, and they only select the cherries that are perfectly ripe. It's slow, it's tough, it's really labor-intensive. And then you have the total opposite approach, mechanical harvesting. This is where giant machines literally drive up to the trees and shake everything off the branches. Ripe fruit, underripe fruit, overripe fruit, leaves, you name it. It's a huge difference in precision. Once those cherries are picked, they come to this huge fork in the road. This step is called processing, and the decision that's made right here is one of the most important in the entire journey because it really, truly shapes the final flavor of the coffee you drink. There are two main paths that can take: dry processing or wet processing.
But wait, what even is processing? Well, in a nutshell, it's just the method they use to get that seed out of the fruit. And this is critical, it's also about drying it down to a really stable, low moisture content. That's what stops it from going bad and gets it ready for its long trip around the world. This stage is where so much of the flavor magic really starts to happen.
And the difference between these two methods? Oh man, it's night and day. With dry processing, they dry the entire cherry whole, fruit, seed, everything, together. This lets all those fruity, sugary flavors from the pulp soak into the seed. You end up with a coffee that's often really fruity and full-bodied. With wet processing, they wash all that fruit off first, before the seed is dried. That tends to give you a much cleaner, brighter, more acidic cup of coffee. Two totally different paths, leading to two totally different results in your cup.
All right, we're almost there. But no matter which path that little bean took, wet or dry, it's still not quite ready for its world tour. It needs a final polish to get it ready for that long global journey ahead.
This is the finishing sequence, and it's all about quality control. First, the beans have to be dried to a very specific moisture level. Then, they go through a milling machine that rubs off that last protective parchment layer. After that comes the sorting, which is this super intensive process where beans are graded by size, density, even color, and all the damaged or defective ones are removed. Finally, the best of the best get bagged up, ready for their trip across the ocean.
And this is what you're left with after that entire incredible process. It's not that brown, toasty, amazing-smelling thing we all know. Nope. You're left with a collection of hard, kind of greenish, bluish seeds. This is what's known as green coffee, and it's the raw material that gets shipped to roasters all over the planet, just waiting for its final, fiery transformation.
So think about it. From a delicate flower to a bright red fruit, through all that stripping and drying and sorting, that little bean has been on an absolutely epic journey before it even gets close to a roaster. So the next time you brew a cup, just take a second to think about that incredible trip. Maybe it'll even change the way you taste it. What do you think?